The rain poured endlessly that morning, drumming against the hospital windows like 1,000 untold stories. In the small nurse's station, Emily Carter rubbed her tired eyes, her scrubs damp from rushing between emergency rooms. She didn't know that today, a single decision, one act of kindness would change her life forever. And neither did the man whose world had been built on money, walls, and loneliness. He was Michael Hayes, a billionaire CEO known for his brilliance in business and his cold detachment from everything human. To the world, he was power in a tailored suit. But behind the glass walls of his empire, he was just a man haunted by emptiness, living with a failing kidney and no family left to care. When he collapsed in his penthouse that night, surrounded by silence and city lights, fate began to write the story that would bind two souls from opposite worlds. Emily was the kind of nurse who stayed late even after her shift ended. She'd been raised in a small town where her mother taught her that every heartbeat is worth fighting for. When she saw the emergency notice, male, 43, critical condition, kidney failure, no donor match, she didn't hesitate. She didn't know his name, his story, or his fortune. All she saw was a man fighting for his life. Michael's condition worsened. The doctors explained that without a transplant soon, his chances were slipping away. Emily overheard one of them say, "We've exhausted every donor option." Something inside her stirred, an ache she couldn't ignore. Her brother had died years ago, waiting for a donor. She remembered holding his hand in the ICU, promising him that someday she would save someone else's life, even if she couldn't save his. So, when the hospital called for volunteers, Emily stepped forward quietly, without hesitation, without ever knowing who would receive her kidney. She went through the tests, the counseling, the long nights of doubt, but she stayed firm. Her colleagues warned her, "You don't even know who it's for. What if he's a criminal? What if he doesn't even deserve it?" But Emily only smiled softly. "A heartbeat is a heartbeat," she said. "If I can keep one going, that's enough." Weeks later, the surgery took place. Two lives, separated by walls and wealth, connected through a single act of selfless love. Michael woke up days later, the world still spinning, a nurse telling him, "You had a successful transplant." He asked, "Who was it?" But the answer was hidden. Donor identities were confidential. Still, something about the softness in the nurse's tone, the warmth in her eyes when she said, "She's recovering well," stayed with him. Emily's recovery was slow. She returned to her small apartment, clutching a letter from the hospital thanking her for her donation. She didn't care about the words. She just hoped the man who received her kidney lived a little longer, smiled a little more, loved a little deeper. Months passed. Michael's health returned, but his heart, something he'd long thought he didn't have, felt strangely restless. He couldn't focus on meetings, couldn't enjoy his wealth. For years, his life had been measured in profits and losses. But now, he found himself sitting in the hospital garden where patients walked, wondering who had given him a second chance. One afternoon, as he looked out over the flowers, he saw her. A young nurse helping an elderly woman to her seat, her smile brighter than the morning sun. She looked familiar, perhaps from before his surgery, but he couldn't place it. Something about her drew him in, not with beauty alone, but with a sense of peace, a quiet strength. He approached her gently. "You work here?" She nodded, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Yes, just trying to make a small difference." Michael smiled faintly. Small differences can change everything. He began visiting often, at first just out of curiosity, then because her kindness softened something in him. He'd bring her coffee during breaks, ask about her day, listen to her laugh. Emily never treated him like the CEO everyone feared. She treated him like a person. But fate doesn't stay quiet forever. One evening, during a hospital fundraiser, Emily noticed Michael's name listed as kidney recipient, honored guest. Her heart stopped. The name matched the anonymous patient she'd donated to, the man whose file she'd read, whose life she'd silently prayed for. Her eyes filled with tears. He was him, the lonely CEO who had unknowingly received her gift. Michael, too, discovered the truth that same night. His assistant had mentioned the donor's name, Emily Carter. He froze, disbelief clouding his eyes. The same Emily who brought light into his days, who never once mentioned what she'd done. He found her outside under the soft glow of the hospital lights, her eyes wet, her hands trembling. Neither spoke at first. The rain began to fall again, softly, like it had that day months ago. "You knew?" he asked finally, voice low. She nodded. "I found out tonight." I never wanted you to feel you owed me anything." He took a step closer, emotion raw in his voice. "You didn't just save my life, Emily. You gave it meaning." Tears streamed down her cheeks as he whispered, "I spent years thinking money could fix anything. But you, someone I didn't even know, taught me what humanity truly is." From that day forward, Michael wasn't the same man. He sold his private island and used the money to build a medical foundation in Emily's name, one that funded transplants for those who couldn't afford them. He visited her every day, not out of gratitude, but because he couldn't imagine his life without her presence. Emily, humble as ever, continued her nursing shifts, helping patients, comforting families, living quietly. But in her heart, she knew something had changed forever. Months later, as the foundation opened its first wing, Michael stood beside her, hand in hand, looking out at the people whose lives would now be saved. "You gave me a kidney," he said softly. "But you also gave me something much greater, hope." Emily smiled, her voice breaking. "You gave it back to the world." And as the crowd applauded and the ribbon was cut, they both realized sometimes the greatest miracles come not from wealth, power, or fame, but from the quiet, unseen acts of love that connect two hearts forever. The rain fell again that night, washing away the past. And under it, two souls stood together, one who gave life and one who finally learned how to live it.